Hello everyone, welcome back to another review. My name is Matthew, and today on this video we're going to be taking a look at the Bootleg movie monster series Gamera from 1995, which I don't believe I'm saying it. I own a Gamera figure after who knows how many years of toying around with the idea of Gamera, especially on Gamera Shell Shack, formerly known as Gamera-a-thon. It just doesn't sound as good as Godzilla-a-thon, you know what I'm saying? But with that being said, I finally own a Gamera figure. But of course, it's a bootleg, which means it's not the original thing. Which, to answer the question, why did I get the bootleg version if I could just get the original? Well, truth be told, I was always trying to get a Gamera figure. But every time I tried to get one, I checked the price and it's just like so much. I know like you can get this thing on like $20 on Hobby Link Japan, but for some reason every time I tried to, it just wouldn't work. So I ended up going for the bootleg version. So, I mean, it's still just to dabble into. Actually, we'll just save my thoughts for later. But bootlegs in general, I know this is going to sound really weird, but I'm a massive fan of bootlegs. I actually own quite a bit of bootlegs in my collection. And just to pull, like. Actually, no, we're going to save that for the comparisons. But I like to personally think bootlegs can tell a story or have a story. What do I mean by this? Well, specifically their origin. Where do bootlegs usually come from? Usually the two countries that you think of first and foremost are either Mexico or China, because that's where bootlegs are often most sold. Although I do believe there are stores entirely like dedicated to bootlegs in America. But with that being said, this is this is where this one. I don't know where this one came from, truth be told, but without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at how my first Gamera figure is. First of all, the sculpt and paint. The head here actually is painted decently well. It is based off, of course, on the MMS 95 Gamera mold, so it is going to have a rather nice sculpt. Although, what I find really interesting is that the way the eyes are painted, they appear to look at least almost on point, but you can kind of see where the tip of my thumb is. They missed the iris by a little bit. I'm not like complaining. You can barely see it. In fact, you can just kind of see like a little sculpted in divot. Kind of reminds you of the MMS Shin Godzilla, where they had a pupil painted, but there was no paint. Kind of cheap there, guys. But on the other side, it looks relatively nice. I do like how the application itself is going from a black pupil to a green iris, and then to a black outline, then to a white eyeball. It looks fine on both sides. So looking straight ahead, looks actually rather nice. The teeth are actually really well painted as well. Got like a nice spray. Of course, they're only halfway painted, like being on the front. So you just look at it from the front, it looks like he's got some really nice dentures. But looking at the mouth inside of it, it's actually really well done. The top of it is painted really well, and the tongue is also really painted well. And something I wasn't expecting is that it actually has a sculpted in throat hole. Wasn't really expecting that. Because usually figures will just close that off, but no, like, I know it's closed off, but there's actually like a little detail where it would be the throat area. And of course, it's not Gamera without talking about the tusks, which, honestly, again, they are just basically applied, but they are, again, rather cool. I wonder why they're different colors. I don't know if it was like that on the original. I don't own the original. But you can actually kind of see a seam line that I definitely think the original did have. There was not like any jaw articulation, so this is just kind of like sealed shut. And moving on down, mine does have a bit of a paint nick right here, where the tip of my thumbnail is. But the detail work to the forehead, to the top of the head, to the neck, really well done. And let's talk about the shell afterward. Let's talk about the arms. Really well done, like the nice little folds and wrinkles they've got going on in the arm region. And then you got the claw paint, which is actually pretty, not like overly done. It's just kind of basically applied, not too bad, not too bad. I will say that they are a bit under applied in some areas, but again, it gets the job done. I'm not expecting like them to go the extra mile with shading, especially on a bootleg. However, what is really cool about this is the way that this is painted. I believe on the original, this entire undersection is painted, but this is actually dry brushed, which I honestly think looks a lot better. And honestly, you can kind of see like all the like dry brushing they gave this thing. It looks very rustic. Is that the right word? No. It looks very, I don't know what the word is. It kind of looks like some sort of material, I guess wood. There you go. Kind of looks like wood. But it looks really nice. And it's very mellow, which I also do like, just to give it some other kind of color application. So it's not like the same kind of green we've just been seeing throughout the entire figure. We have the legs, which look really nice, really meaty and beefy too. Like, this is actually kind of a bulky leg, especially when we get down to the foot, which, moving our way down, like, we kind of have, like, those folds and wrinkles going down. Then, of course, we get to the feet. Not painted so much at the bottom, because you can kind of see where they stopped. Nothing at the bottom of the feet, like, copyright info, probably because that's where Bandai put their copyright info. Although they usually put on the tail, so, But you can definitely see, like, it looks really well done. And how they're kind of, like, spiraling off to the side. So, this really is... This looks really well done. And I know, again, it's Bandai's mold, but, again, for a bootleg, this is still really nice. And I will say, again, kind of beady, but again, that's probably like on the original figure. Now let's talk about the tail. We're getting to this shell. The tail is rather small, as it should be, and it honestly it's a tail. It doesn't have any paint. It has some nice kind of like wrinkle details, soft underside with a much more rougher overside, kind of like how tails are in nature. But that's kind of about it. But let's talk about the shell. Um, Honestly, again, it's been a while since I've even seen anything from the 1995 film. But with that being said, 3 ridges. I like that. It kind of almost gives the impression of a dorsal fins. And, like, look, I'm not crazy. 3, like, elongated spines. Definitely shows a bit of Godzilla enthusiasm. But yeah, the shell is painted, or just painted, sculpted really well, and it's made from the same kind of color vinyl the rest of the figure's made of. And it honestly looks really sweet. It's funny enough, the figure is actually pretty hollow. Like, it can actually squish. You take Gamera like this, you can actually kind of squish them. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can squish. So, like, it's so hollow. Like, it's not rubbery hollow, but it's still hollow. So, if you chuck this thing on the floor, chances are it's going to break on, like, the first go. But overall, for sculpt and paint, it's actually really well done. And I'm fairly surprised about that.